Ayun po. So, bakit niya na ako tinawag? Yun nga eh. Hindi, yun kasi competitive po ako. So, narinig ko one verse daw, pero di ako makabili, so I decided to go to one chapter. Legit po. I'm instead of a verse kasi I could not express through one verse, so I just decided to go through one verse. One chapter. This chapter is one of my favorite. It's literally one of the best opener sa books sa Bible. Wala ka makikita sa Bible na best way to open introduction. Kumbaga, pag nanood tayo ng movie, yung panimula, this one is the best. I guarantee. I have been reading this so many times and it's always been beautiful. The book is John. The chapter is syempre John chapter 1 if you know the book. John chapter 1, yun nga, sabi ko nga, the best opener to a book. It started in John chapter 1 verse 1. It says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through Him all things were made. Without Him nothing was made that has been made. In Him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind." Verse 5, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness is not overcome it." I will not read anymore after this one. So yun, I decided to go to this one kasi sabi ko, this is the most beautifully written introduction to a book. And I want us to all be amazed of how beautiful the Word of God is. And in this Word of God, this chapter, ang ini-introduce nito is Jesus Himself. John chapter 1 is known as the prologue to the divinity of Jesus, or the introduction to Jesus Christ. So, yung chapter 1, introduce na sa Jesus Christ. So, alam naman natin, we are celebrating Christmas right now, di ba? So, sino ba ang dumating in Christmas? Jesus. So, before we go through the complex message of trust, of faith, of being grateful, of His sacrifice of salvation, before we go to that complex, let's all know who Jesus is. And John chapter 1 introduced us to Jesus. He said, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning." So first two verses, itiniin na agad, Jesus was God. In contrary to some other denomination that we have sa paligid natin, may malapit dyan, na Jesus is just a prophet, a man. No. We believe that Jesus is God. He is God. Sino naniniwala na si Jesus ay tao lang?
Amen.
Tao lang. Tao lang. May malapit doon. Yun, alam ko, sabi nila yun. Pero tayo, we believe Christ is God. And the beauty of Christmas is that God came for us. Who else? Sino ba yung pinaka-the best na darating para sa atin? Diba? It's God Himself. Then, chapter 4, as He comes down, He said, "In Him was life. And that life was the light of all mankind." So, Jesus is God, and Jesus is life. On the day of Christmas, the world received God, and the world received life. In the day of Christmas, you have received God, and you have received life. And when there is life, there is hope. Alam ko, ang dami natin pinagdaanan sa nagdaang taon, from January to up to this day. Diba? We struggled so much. Marami tayong pinagdaanan, may mga pagsubok, marami tayong mga hinarap at haharapin. But I tell you, in the day that Jesus came, you have received God and you have received life. And when there's life, there's always hope. And whatever you're going through, this Christmas will remind you that, hey, as long as you have life in you, meron pang pag-asa. And I'm not telling you na we are hopeless, ha? I'm not telling us we are hopeless. But I tell you na whatever you're going through or you will be going through at the end of this year, as long as you're breathing, as long as Jesus is in your life, you will always have a reason to move forward. You will And as you see this Christmas, sabi nga nila, parang iba na yung Pasko, no? Totoo naman, naramdaman ko yun. Na parang, nung mga bata tayo, ang tingin natin sa Pasko, maliwanag, maingay, di ba? Ngayon parang, it's all black and white eh. Di ba? Especially sa mga adult, ako, nagtatrabaho na ako, Christmas has become black and white, hindi na siya neon colors, hindi na parang ang saya-saya, gano'n. It's always black and white. And alam ko, sa mga matagal na, mga mas matanda na sa akin, you have been celebrating Christmas black and white na lang. But I tell you, you have life in you, and there will always be reason to celebrate. Diba? Mamaya, pag uwi natin, just look at your table. Ang ganda ng table mat. Walang laman, pero ang ganda ng table mat. Diba? Makinang yung silverwares natin. Silverwares. Yes, well, yan. As long as you have life, there will always be a reason to celebrate. You may struggle a bit. Okay lang yun. Pero at least, andiyan ka pa rin naman. Meron pa namang next year. Bawi tayo next year. Okay ba yun? Bawi tayo next year. Verse 5 says, the light shines in the darkness is not overcome. Sabi ko kanina, we have been celebrating the Christmas for us adults, black and white. But Jesus came to us. He came as a God. He came as life, and He came as light. You may be celebrating it dull, walang kagana-gana, but I tell you, Jesus is your light. You go home today, pag uwi mo mamaya sa bahay niyo, parang kakaiba. Remember, Jesus is light. And light shows you. Diba? Pag walang liwanag, wala ka makikita. But when there's light, you will see things. And as long as Jesus is your light, you will see through things. You will see beyond the handa. You will see beyond the Christmas carols. You will see beyond the struggles you have. Diba? You will see beyond it. And all you will have to see is ang liwanag ng buhay pag nandyan si Kristo.
Amen.
Mamaya pag uwi mo, anak, wala tayong handa pero may ilaw tayo. Because Christ is light. Pero yun nga, whatever we have experienced this past year, as long as Jesus is in your life, you have a God, you have life, and you have light. That's all you need to have. And as I end, I want to note this one. This is actually one of my favorite parts. In verse 14, it said, the Word became flesh and made dwelling among us. We have seen His glory in the glory of one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace. The first line, the Word became flesh. It goes back dun sa first verse na shinare sa atin ni Brother Ben, Isaiah. Sa Isaiah, pinrophesy na the coming of Christ. Diba? And pagdating kay John, sinabi niya, yung prophecy has become flesh. And alam niyo ba na ang difference, ang pagitan ng Book of Isaiah to Book of John, from the first prophecy of Isaiah to the birth of Christ is more or less 700 years. Ganun katagal. It took several hundreds of generations before the word of the coming of Christ has been revealed. And I'll tell you, if yung pangako ng pagdating ni Jesucristo natupad sa loob ng 700 years, natupad siya. I tell you, yung mga pinanalangin natin for the past days, for the past months, feeling natin ang tagal na, no? Ang tagal na. But I tell you, the word of the Lord will always come true. And He says, call unto me and I will answer you. You may have not heard your answer for the past months, for the past years, but I tell you, yung prophecy nga ni Isaiah, namatay na lang siya. Ganun, hindi naman tayo mamamatay na hindi mo tinutupad yung panalangin na ito. Pero the thing is, it will take a while sometimes. But this Christmas will remind you of your prayers, of your cries to God. Hey, I have heard you, and I have always been true to my promise. Just as I have prophesied the coming of my Son, it has been revealed, it has been certified, at nangyari siya. So your cries, your worries, your prayers, it will happen. Christmas will always be beautiful because it's all about Jesus.